Good afternoon, it's the Mean Bean Machine here for getbeaned.com, and today we are looking at the Califia XX Espresso cold brew coffee with almond milk. So Califia do kind of cold brew drinks that are dairy free basically. There are darker ones, that aren't that basically don't have a kind of milk alternative in them, act kind of straight as a cold brew. There's also one, I believe, that has kind of cocoa in. Now, I was a little dubious about kind of reviewing this because my initial thoughts was, well, is it little more than kind of a glorified milkshake, like a dairy-free milkshake alternative? But, we are a coffee blog and we do, commit ourselves to everything coffee based. So we thought, I thought, why not? It's my blog. I can do whatever I like. But also it is it's not bad coffee. So now I first came across these in Whole Foods. There's a big Whole Foods kind of in London. There's a couple of them cropping up now in London. I don't know if there's any more kind of around England at the moment. I've only seen a few in London. And this is where I first saw these, and then I also saw them in Mexico. And now they've gone a bit more mainstream over here. This one I got in Morrison's, and they're also now in Sainsbury's. Now I first started picking these up, or not picking these up because they were quite expensive, about £6 for a bottle of 750 millilitres. That's quite, really quite expensive. I think at Sainsbury's at the moment, and I must stress at the moment because supermarkets always have an offer or a deal on, they're about £2.50. This one can't have been that expensive, otherwise I wouldn't have picked it up in Morrison's. But yeah, so it's kind of broken into the mainstream, I think, with the kind of dairy-free, plant-based living trend has kind of gone quite mainstream at the moment. So this has kind of broken into that. So we're going to give this a go today, and kind of see how it goes. So let's give it a try. I've already taken the foil off the top, but I haven't drunk any yet. So here goes. Let's try not to spill it. So kind of instantly you're like, that is, a bit like, that is sort of a milkshake. It's not a proper coffee drink, but it is 100% Arabica coffee. And it sells itself on this idea of better coffee. It even has the caffeine strength there at the bottom. That's quite a nice. And it says it's mild, so I doubt it has a lot of caffeine in it at all, really, or a lot of coffee in it at all. But it sells itself on that idea. So, we will see. But yeah, kind of initial thoughts are, it does actually look a lot like I had an iced latte this morning, oat milk iced latte. It looks a lot like that. So, there is a sense that it could be quite coffee-y. But initial response is, yeah, this is more of a milkshake gimmick than, say, coffee based, but let's give it a go. So it doesn't smell sugary, it doesn't have a sugary, it has a nice coffee smell to it, which is reassuring. And you drink it and you do go, yeah, that's coffee. It's not a coffee flavoured milkshake or like a dessert, essentially. It is cold brew with almond milk, which is actually really quite nice. Now, as I've mentioned, it sells itself on not strong caffeine. It's not a strong coffee flavour, but there's a definite, the flavour is definitely coffee. It's not sugar, it's not almond milk. It is coffee. And I think that's where it's going to sell itself to kind of coffee enthusiasts. It is it's a pleasant coffee flavour. It's a nice coffee, but it's very, very mild. And I think that in this kind of warm weather, it's a nice, if you don't want a really strong kind of black cold brew, you do want something kind of I say more milky. Obviously, these are dairy-free alternatives, but you want something like that. That's kind of really nice. It's like it's not like a milkshake in the sense that there's no kind of sugary, gloopy, ice creamy taste to it. It is definitely cold brew with, it's cold brew with milk. I know it's not milk, but for these purposes. So it's definitely a cold brew, and that's what I really quite like about it. Because a lot of cold brews at the moment, like we recently reviewed, a couple of cold brews, and they're just kind of the black cold brew. So by adding milk, for milk that's not milk, it brings something new to the table. So I really like this. As someone who tends to drink espresso drinks with kind of a milk alternative as opposed to black coffee, I do drink a lot of black coffee as well, but I tend to favour something to go with the coffee. So I think this is for people like that. It does feel it's been toned down a little, and I sort of get the sense that that's more for the mass market. If you're selling to coffee enthusiasts, they're not going to be too bothered about a really strong coffee flavour. But this kind of bridges that line quite nicely of, those who aren't going to necessarily call themselves coffee enthusiasts, but know a decent coffee from a chain, what is essentially a milkshake with all the caramel and vanilla flavourings, but it's sold as a coffee. So I would recommend that. It's very mild though, and it's nice in the summer weather, but because of that kind of milkiness, you're only going to have one, whereas you could kind of quite happily drink other cold brews kind of all through the day if you're at a barbecue or whatever. That's quite heavy with the, again, it's not dairy, but with that sort of dairy sense of, you don't want to be drinking that constantly. But no, that is a really nice, and for about $2.50 a bottle, that's not bad. When they are slightly more expensive, you can get through them quite quickly for a lot of money, and that's not really what you want. But the fact that you're getting through them, shows that there's something really nice to them. The coffee's nice, and I think people would be pleasantly surprised with that.